Hello everybody, and today I've got another video for you all. Last time, I made a video about why I believe that Bubsy and Claw's Encounters of the Third Kind was an underrated masterpiece. And if you've not seen it and still want to, then you should check it out, as I'll link it in the description below. Because today, I want to talk about the game's sequel, and my thoughts on it. They are not good thoughts. Because, in my opinion, Bubsy 2 is where the series went downhill and became the mockery that's known today, which will hopefully change with the new upcoming Bubsy 4D. Because today, I want to explain to you why I believe that Bubsy 2 is a disappointing sequel. But first, let's talk about this game's development, as I believe it is crucial to know why I believe this game is a disappointment. So, Bubsy and Claw's Encounters of the Third Kind. You may have heard of it, love it or hate it. I personally love it. It was a massive success, so a sequel was just a no-brainer. But the game's creator, Michael Berlin, had already left Accolade, so the sequel was made by a different team. And this team hated Bubsy. They despised the character. They would torture Bubsy plushies. So yeah, sounds like a mix of success, right? Having a team that hates the game they're working on sounds like a good plan. Without further ado, let's talk about this game. This review will mostly be negative, but I do want to say some positive things because there are some positive stuff. For example, just like the first game, this plot is told through a comic book, which I again do appreciate it as it makes it very unique. But I do find it a bit disappointing that the Woolies are not the villains. Instead, we have Oinker P. Ham, and I like pigs and all. I mean, heck, it's in my channel's name. But I feel like the Woolies are just way more iconic. But then again, it would be interesting if Bubsy did face different villains in each game, and it doesn't have the same problem that Mario and Sonic has with the same bad guy keep coming back. And the comic book also has characters from the TV pilot, and okay, let me get my thoughts on that really quick. And it's alright. Like, it's not as bad as many people say it is, but it is just your typical 90s cartoon, and I completely understand why it never got picked up, because I really don't feel like this fits Bubsy, especially with the southwestern setting. It just doesn't feel right. Now, another thing I like about this game, it's its health system. Remember how my one major complaint from the first game was that you die in one hit? Well, this game fixes that, because now you die in 3 hits. I really like this a lot. It was very necessary, and, well, that's all I have for the positives for this game, and here are where my problems of it start to arrive. For starters, the controls are just terrible. Bubsy feels like he jumps super high, but he falls like a brick, and he slows down too quick. It just feels so off. And I know the first game's controls were not the best, but I feel like you get pretty used to them pretty quickly. But here, it takes me like a good while for me to get used to them. Even then, I would much rather have the old control scheme. Like, what happened here? And then there are the levels, and they are bad. But they are so maze-like, and I do not mean that in a good way, I mean that in a bad way. Half the time, I don't even know where the heck I'm supposed to go, and while there are sometimes arrows, most of the time, it leads me into a dead end, because it expects me to go either up or enter through a door. And these locations are boring and not that really interesting. They don't feel like they belong. The pyramid and the medieval ones are like the exception, but stuff like the music and space pirates feel so odd. And another bad thing about these levels is that, well, despite having a health system, they're so cramped, and you're going to get hit a lot, and then you're going to die a lot. So it's like it still follows the same problem as the first game. Now, this game does introduce some new stuff, such as the items, which are okay. The Nerf gun is fine, but everything else is just meh, especially with the hole that just takes you to the hub world, which is kind of a bit useless, especially because it's just a more fancy way of exiting a level, which is not that great. Now, this game also added flying sections, and oh boy, do they suck. You are constantly moving, and since there's so much on screen, you're going to get hit a lot. Turning sucks, and because you're moving, you rarely get time to even breathe. Now, let's talk about this game's minigames. And I'm not that big of a fan of them. The Arnold one I did not like, because I don't even know what I'm even controlling. I don't know if I'm controlling Arnold or the fans, or heck, I don't even know if I'm controlling both of them at all, because it's super unclear, and half the time it's just flailing around until the level just ends, or I just give up. Now let's talk about Bubsy and his personality. I feel like this was the moment where his personality went downhill, because he went from the first game of being a sarcastic wise guy who occasionally will break the fourth wall and sometimes question the logic of things, to a pun-making joke machine. That's all he does here. Make jokes. Joke after joke. And I'm fine with corny jokes, but this does not feel like it fits the character at all. Or at least not fit the character that was presented in the first game. Now let's talk about this game's soundtrack. Now normally a game's soundtrack is usually good, no matter the quality of the game. For example, Paper Mario Sticker Star, despite being a bad game, has one of the best soundtracks of all time. Heck, I'll even argue it has the best soundtrack out of any Paper Mario game. But Bubsy 2 is one of those rare exceptions where not even the soundtrack is good, because this soundtrack just sucks. I don't know if it's just laziness, or coding error, or something, but this soundtrack sounds horrible. It constantly changes its melodies and changes its tone. It just doesn't feel right. For example, here's what the pyramid level sounds like. It just sounds so unorganized. And not to mention, the faster you go, the faster the music speeds up. Now, this would be fine if the soundtrack was organized and all, but because it's so unorganized and so random, it makes it even worse. And lastly, there are the bosses, and they suck. They are so bad. There's like only 3 bosses in this game, compared to the first one, which had like 6 of them. And technically, it's just one boss, because the first 2 are just enemy gauntlets. I hate enemy gauntlets as bosses. I think it's lazy, it's not fun, it's just a quick and easy way to make a boss. Instead of having a fun boss that has attack patterns you need to attack and dodge, you just defeat waves and waves of enemies until the game says, okay, you can move on. This sucks because this game could have some good bosses. Like, for example, this game has plane sections. Why not have a boss that you fight while in the plane? That could have been interesting. And then the final boss. It's definitely the best boss of the game, but it's not that saying much because it's the only quote-unquote true boss, since the other 2 are just enemy gauntlets. Now, I hope you now know why I think this game's a disappointment and where the Bubsy series went downhill. But although I have been complaining and criticizing this game a lot, I will still encourage for those who haven't tried it to at least try it before forming their full opinion. Because I think it's very dumb to have your own opinion on something that you never tried. Because I didn't have an opinion on Bubsy 1, and I thought it was going to be bad. But when I tried it, I liked it a lot. And who knows, maybe the same thing might happen to you with this game. Because I've met many people online who liked Bubsy 2. And I appreciate that, because at least they liked something that I didn't, which goes to show that there's at least maybe something that I'm missing here. But to me, I feel like Bubsy 2 is a very disappointing sequel. Thanks for watching.